The air in the Xylo's orbital employment exchange was thick with the scent of ozone, alien pheromones, and desperation. Alara gripped her data slate, its screen a mosaic of crimson rejection notices. Each one was a tiny digital punch to the gut. Application for exobiologist, junior. Eln Corporation. Rejected. Qualifications insufficient. She had a master's in xenobotany. Insufficient. Application for hydroponic technician. Cathar Combine rejected, offspring dependency noted. Corporate creche facilities at capacity. That was the polite way of saying, we don't hire single mothers. Application for cargo logistics coordinator. Void Weaver Guild, rejected. Species, human. Physical strength below median for guild standards. Alara's shoulders slumped. Next to her, a hulking, four-armed Brule negotiated a contract with a chittering insectoid, his translator box booming with figures that could have paid her rent for a year. She felt invisible, a ghost in the bustling machine of interspecies commerce. Her 5-year-old daughter Lily was back in their cramped single-berth module, watching educational hollows. Every credit spent was a countdown to eviction, to being stranded on this grimy station, a fate worse than any back on Earth. Her last hope was a small, unadvertised kiosk tucked between a Triaxian tattoo parlor and a vendor selling live grubs. The sign was simple, etched on a piece of reclaimed plasteel. Orion's Reach Salvage and Recovery. Captain Jax Corbin, hiring ship's botanist and life support specialist. A human name. Her heart, a numb organ in her chest, gave a tentative flutter. She approached. The alien in the booth, a willowy, blue-skinned Vistian, didn't even look up from his shimmering display. No open positions, he droned, his voice like wind chimes. But the sign, Alara began, her own voice raspy from disuse, is outdated. The captain is particular. We require someone with extensive field experience in high-stress environments. Your file, he said, finally glancing at her, his large black eyes unblinking, indicates a 5-year hiatus from formal work, and a dependent. We are not a creche, human. The familiar heat of shame washed over her. The hiatus was raising a child she loved more than life itself, but in the cold calculus of the galactic economy, it was a black mark. Please, she said, the word tasting like ash. Just let me speak to Captain Corbin. The Vistian sighed, a sound like rustling leaves. As you wish. He is on the Star Dancer, berth 77C. Do not waste his time. Berth 77C was in the old sector, where the station's artificial gravity flickered and the air smelled of rust and recycled coolant. The Star Dancer was not a sleek, gleaming starship. It was a beast of burden, a cobbled-together fusion of human and alien tech, its hull scarred by micrometeorites and plasma burns. It looked less like a ship and more like a collection of parts that had agreed to fly in close formation. The cargo ramp was down. Alara walked up into the belly of the ship, the sound of a wrench clanging against metal and a stream of very human, very creative profanity guiding her way. She found him in the engine room, half buried in an open access panel. He was a large man, not in the brute strength of the Brule, but in a solid, capable way. His coveralls were stained with lubricant, and a faded tattoo of a classical Earth sailing ship peeked out from his rolled-up sleeve. Captain Corbin? He slid out, wiping his hands on a rag. His face was weathered, with laugh lines around his eyes that currently weren't laughing. He looked her up and down, not with the dismissive glance of the Vistian, but with a quiet, assessing intensity. That's me. And you are? Alara Vance, I'm here about the botanist position. Jax Corbin's expression didn't change. Kyle sent you? My Vistian factotum has a soft heart. He sends me all the hopeless cases. He gestured around the cramped, chaotic engine room. This isn't a luxury liner. We go into the dead zones, the graveyards of forgotten wars and failed colonies. The air is sometimes toxic, the gravity is wonky, and the pay is only good if we find something worth selling. It's no place for a civilian. Alara stood her ground, clutching her data slate like a shield. I am not a civilian. I have a master's in xenobotany from Luna Academy. I specialized in closed-loop life support systems and cultivating food sources in non-terraformed environments. Luna Academy? Impressive. 5 years ago. He crossed his arms. What happened? She took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that ended every interview. I had a daughter. Her father wasn't in the picture. I've been raising her. She waited for the dismissal, the polite nod, the We'll be in touch." Jax was silent for a long moment, his gaze unwavering. Then he asked a question no one else ever had. "Is she tough?" The question threw Alara. I think so. She has to be." Jax nodded slowly. "My first partner was a corporate man. Wanted a clean ship, a predictable route, a big retirement fund. He quit after our first run into the scrap fields of Cygnus. Nearly got us both killed because he panicked. He picked up a hydrospanner, turning it over in his hands. I'll take a tough, desperate person who needs the job over a perfectly qualified one who just wants it. Any day. Desperation makes you resourceful. Being a parent makes you responsible. You don't take stupid risks when you have someone waiting for you." He looked her dead in the eye. "The job is yours. We leave in 48 hours. Your daughter is welcome aboard. Her safety, like yours, is your responsibility. Don't make me regret this." Tears welled in Alara's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "You won't, Captain. I promise." Life aboard the Star Dancer was everything Jax had promised, hard, dirty, and unpredictable. Lily, after initial shyness, took to it like a duck to water. The ship's cat, a three-eyed Martian tabby named Gizmo, became her constant companion. Alara's domain was the hydroponics bay, a pressurized module attached to the main hull. It was a mess. The previous botanist had let the systems fall into disrepair. The nutrient solutions were unbalanced, and the growth lamps flickered erratically. For the first 2 weeks, while Jax and Kale negotiated for salvage rights on a derelict freighter in the Lyra system, Alara worked. She recalibrated, replanted, and rewired. Her hands, once soft, grew calloused, but she brought the bay back to life. Lush green terrestrial plants grew next to shimmering purple cathar moss, and a tub of fast-growing protein-rich Vistian root vegetables. She didn't just maintain the system, she improved it, increasing oxygen production by 18% and creating a surplus of fresh food. Jax noticed. He didn't say much, but he'd often bring her a cup of terrible, replicated coffee and just stand for a moment, watching the green leaves bask under the lamps. "You're a miracle worker, Alara," he said once, his voice gruff with something that sounded like respect. The real test came on their first major salvage run. The contract was for the Odyssey's End, a human generation ship that had veered off course a century ago and was now drifting in a toxic nebula known as the Siren's Veil. The official record said it was a systems failure. The whispers said something else had happened aboard. As they docked with the colossal silent ship, a sense of profound dread settled over them. The air was cold and still. Jax and Kale suited up for the salvage, hunting for the ship's data core and any valuable artifacts. "Alara," Jax's voice crackled over the comm, "we're seeing something strange. The entire ship is overgrown." She patched into their suit feeds. On the screens in the Star Dancer's cockpit, she saw it. The corridors of the Odyssey's End were choked with a bizarre crystalline flora. It pulsed with a soft internal light, casting shifting shadows on the walls. "It's beautiful," Kale chimed in, his melodic voice filled with wonder. "It's a quarantine-level biohazard is what it is," Jax grumbled. "Alara, any ideas?" Alara studied the feed, her mind racing. "I've never seen anything like it. It seems to be feeding on the ship's residual power. Don't touch it. The crystalline structure suggests it could be sharp, possibly venomous." It was then that Lily, who had been quietly coloring at the comms station, pointed at a secondary monitor. "Mommy, the pretty plant is singing." Alara and Jax both froze. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "It's a quiet song. Like the wind." Lily hummed a discordant, eerie little tune. A cold knot tightened in Alara's stomach. She enhanced the audio sensors on Jax's suit feed, filtering out all but the highest frequencies. What came through was a faint, hypnotic, ultrasonic vibration. "A siren song indeed. Jax, get out of there. Now," she yelled into the comm. "That flora isn't just growing there. It's the reason the ship is derelict. It's a psychotropic organism. It's luring you in." But it was too late. On the feed, they saw Kale standing transfixed, reaching out to touch a glowing blue blossom. "The light, it understands," the Vistian whispered, his voice dreamy. Jax grabbed him, yanking him back. "Snap out of it, Kale!" But as he did, a tendril of the crystalline plant lashed out from the wall, wrapping around Jax's leg. He cried out as it pierced his suit, injecting a neurotoxin. The feed dissolved into static-filled chaos. Ilara's heart hammered against her ribs. Panic threatened to swallow her whole. She looked at Lily's wide, frightened eyes. Don't take stupid risks when you have someone waiting for you. Jax's words echoed in her mind. This wasn't a risk. It was a rescue. Stay here, Lily, no matter what. She grabbed the ship's med kit and a portable plasma cutter, slapping an environment suit on over her clothes. She crossed the docking umbilical into the silent, haunted tomb of the Odyssey's end. Following the trail of broken crystal flora and the faint signal from Jax's suit tracker, she found them in a large atrium that must have once been a park. Kale was crouched, murmuring to a cluster of glowing mushrooms. Jax was on the ground, his legs swollen, his face pale and beaded with sweat. The crystalline vines were slowly creeping toward him. Ilara, get back to the ship, he slurred. Not without my crew, she said, her voice steady despite the terror coursing through her. She didn't try to fight the plant. She understood plants. They were systems. They responded to stimuli. She analyzed the growth patterns, seeing how they converged on a central, massive mother organism in the center of the atrium, drawing power from the ship's core. She ignored the creeping tendrils and ran straight for the heart of the infestation. Raising the plasma cutter, she didn't aim for the plant itself. She aimed for the thick power conduit that ran along the ceiling, the one feeding the central organism. You don't like the dark, do you? She muttered and fired. The conduit exploded in a shower of sparks. Instantly, the pulsing light within the crystalline flora flickered and died. The hypnotic ultrasonic song ceased. The vines reaching for Jax went limp, becoming inert crystal. The spell was broken. Kale blinked, looking around in confusion. Ilara rushed to Jax, administering the broad-spectrum antitoxin from the medkit. He groaned, his eyes focusing on her. You crazy. He coughed. You saved our lives. I just did some pest control, she said, a weary smile touching her lips. Weeks later, back in civilized space, the salvage from the Odyssey's end, its data core intact, its story recorded, made them all a small fortune. The Star Dancer was being refitted with a new, more powerful engine. Ilara stood with Jax in her thriving hydroponics bay, looking out at the star-dusted blackness. The offer from Geln Corporation came through, she said quietly, holding up her data slate. Senior exobotanist, triple the pay, their own creche facility. Jax's face fell, but he nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars. It's what you wanted. What you deserve. I know, Ilara said. She tapped the screen and the crimson rejected notice appeared over the Geln logo. So I told them no. Jax turned to her, surprise and hope warring in his eyes. They saw a 5-year gap on a resume, Ilara said, placing a hand on a vibrant leafy fern. You saw a mother. They saw a liability. You saw a person. You gave me a chance when no one else would. This ship, this crew. It's not just a job. It's our home. Jax Corbin, the grizzled, pragmatic captain, reached out and squeezed her shoulder, his grip firm and sure. Welcome home, Ilara. Outside, the universe was vast and cold and teeming with aliens who didn't want to hire a single mother. But here, on a beat-up salvage ship, a human had given her a chance, and in doing so, they had both found something rarer than any treasure, a family.